Why are so many Brits moving to the US? Because if you go online or even scroll through my comment section, and yes, I see you, it's obvious that a lot of Brits are strongly against it. They're very vocal about it and sometimes a little bit rude.
There was no need for that.
Well. Now who's being rude?
So here's what doesn't add up. Around 20,000 Brits move to the US every single year. So today, I want to talk about them and why the reality looks so different from the conversation online. This isn't about saying one country is better or one country is worse. It's about understanding why people quietly make choices they don't always talk about publicly. So let's look at why people actually choose the US despite everything you see online. If you're already subscribed to my channel, you'll know this, but if you're new here, I'm currently living in America on a 3-year visa with my family. This move was technically temporary through my husband's military assignment, but like many Brits before us, the plan is to come back in a more permanent way. This video is about what pulls people in, what surprises them, and what keeps them here. Because as much as I'd always wanted to live in America, I never imagined that after this 3-year visa, I would actually choose and fight to live here permanently. That means choosing to live away from what I know and away from my friends and my family. That is no small thing. Of course, this is shaped by personal circumstances, careers, and where you live in the US. So, if your experience has been different, I would genuinely love to hear about it in the comments. But for many Brits, the biggest pull is still what people call the American dream. People don't always like to talk about money, but it is a fact of life and it plays a huge role in decisions like this. We're here through my husband's role, but the earning potential and career opportunities we've experienced in the US are a huge reason that we can even consider staying here long term. In many industries, US salaries are simply higher than they are in the UK, and that often translates into a better standard of living. We felt that here in Pennsylvania, which isn't even a cheap state. It's ranked around the 27th most expensive. So this isn't just about moving somewhere dirt cheap. The US is a global economic powerhouse with broader opportunities in certain sectors. And while taxes vary widely from state to state, overall taxation is generally lower than in the UK. Even here, with relatively high state taxes, the lifestyle trade off has been worth it for us. The difference really hits when you look at housing. Outside of major cities around us, like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, bigger homes and more living space are far more common than in the UK. I've covered this properly in another video, so I won't repeat it here, but you definitely won't find a washing machine in your kitchen here. But space doesn't stop at the front door. America is just big. Beaches, mountains, deserts, forests, often just a short flight away. We've already visited over 20 states, exploring national parks, state parks, museums, beaches, and historical sites. The sheer choice when it comes to leisure and lifestyle is something the UK just can't match in the same way. Honestly, the biggest difference isn't money or space, it's the mindset. And you feel that in everyday life, in how people talk, in how they talk about work, in how you'll often hear why not instead of that won't work, and in how much less people seem to care where you came from as long as you're willing to try. There's a genuine belief here in fresh starts, in the idea that where you begin doesn't have to define where you end up. I love that you can arrive in America, work hard, and build something for your family in a way that can feel far more difficult in Britain or wider Europe, where higher taxes and rigid systems can be real barriers. And while I'm no entrepreneur, it's interesting that despite having more billionaires and millionaires than anywhere else, the US actually feels less class bound than the UK. There's less emphasis on background and more emphasis on what you do, how hard you work, and what you contribute. Despite its enormous cultural diversity, especially in the cities, America still largely operates on the idea that effort and ability matters more than anything else. Now, that doesn't mean it's perfect. There are real downsides and some very cultural shocks, especially around things like healthcare and social safety nets. And that's exactly what I'll be covering in part two on Saturday. But Brits have been moving to America for centuries, from the 17th century settlers to modern professionals today. What's interesting is that we're now seeing movement both ways. Americans are increasingly moving to the UK too, and they now make up around 0.4% of the UK population, mostly in London and the south of England. So, this isn't about one country being better, it's about why people choose differently. For a lot of people, that choice is more private and more practical than the internet makes it seem. If you're British and living in the US, I would love to know what made you move and whether it matched the reality. And if you're American thinking about Britain, part two might change how you see it. For me personally, moving to America is one of the best things that I and my entire family has ever done, and that is what this channel is focused on, our move to America. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for watching, and a big thank you to my channel members.